I like to say one thing to women who are looking at law as a career. Take law and make it into whatever you'd like it to be.
We're 120 years old as an institution. Women have always been part of the picture. And that's, as you all know, not something that every law school can say. In the 1960s, USC Gould became the first ABA-accredited law school in the country to appoint a female dean. And that's, of course, Dorothy Nelson, who not only was dean, but was an enormously important dean. Fast forwarding to today, our 1L class this year has the largest percentage of women in the history of the law school, which is 59% of our first-year class is female.
The Gould School has such a terrific history. Since its founding in 1900, the school's been defined by the achievements of so many extraordinary women graduates.
Ms. Lavine is a double Trojan and graduated from USC Law School in 1943, and her class consisted of only 5 women.
USC and USC Law School have played a very important role in my life. I went to law school at a time when most women did not pursue a professional career. I've been able to see many changes for women in the law, more women in law schools, law firms, the judiciary, and I would be nice to think that I've contributed in a modest way to those changes.
Supervisor Burke has served the community in a number of roles. She has served 4 terms on the Los Angeles County Board of Supervisors. She received her JD from USC Gould in 1956. She became the first African-American woman elected to the U.S. Congress from California in 1972. In 1973, she became the first member of Congress to give birth while in office.
My experience at USC, I have to say, is I was the second African-American woman who attended the law school. The first was Helen Riddle in 1928. Even when I was there, there were just very few women, and we only had 6 women in my class. There was only a class of 60. What law school really taught me was that part of our experience is to educate those people around us, educate those people who are future lawyers, that they didn't all look the same, that their backgrounds were not all the same. So I think that part of it is an educational responsibility. When I had my child, when I was a member of Congress, I was the first member of Congress to have a baby. And it was an educational experience for those I worked with. The men in Congress didn't think about the fact that a woman could be a member of Congress, do her job as well as anyone else, stand on the floor of the House and debate an issue and still be a woman. I guess I really have been very fortunate that I've had an opportunity to do things that maybe women in the past did not have those doors open to them, starting with the California legislature. I was the first African-American woman elected to the California legislature. And now as I look back, I see so many women making great contributions. Again, when I went to Congress, I was the first African-American woman elected from California. And there, at the time, there were very few women who served in Congress. In total, there were 19 women. Today, it's almost half women who are serving in the United States House of Representatives. I also was very fortunate when I was first appointed to the Board of Supervisors of Los Angeles County, becoming the first woman and the first African-American appointed. I was appointed by Governor Jerry Brown, who had confidence in me. Unfortunately, I was not elected, but later, many years later, I did run and served for 16 years on the Board of Supervisors. I believe law offers not only the chance to change laws, make laws, but also to apply them in such a way that they give greater opportunities to generations of women and minorities. So I say to women who are looking at law, you may want to be in a law firm, and they're great opportunities. I served in one of the largest law firms in the United States. Obviously, I was one of the first women to become a partner in Jones Day. And I'm not going to say when you do these things, it's all smooth sailing. Don't expect it to be totally smooth sailing. But if you can take on a challenge and if you can make life better for someone else, it's amazing. Once you do it, it opens the doors for so many others. The obstacles that I faced of race, the obstacles of being a woman, even though we believe that those are all past, they're real still today. When I think about the fact that I had the opportunity to work in the civil rights movement, to march with Dr. King, and to have a chance to be part of many of the changes. But those changes have not totally come about yet. And we have a chance as lawyers, our unique position to be at the forefront of change. I believe that law is probably one of the most obvious and difficult methods that women can be involved in making change, but it is also the most effective. Select an area that you think will help you grow, at the same time realizing you won't stay there necessarily for your entire career, because law is so dynamic that opportunities will arise that you can't even conceive of at this moment.
Alyson Parker is an attorney with the California Department of Justice, where she represents the state in litigation related to health, education, and welfare policy and matters. She also serves as treasurer of the Board of Immigrant Defenders Law Council and volunteers as a rape crisis counselor. During law school at USC, Allie served as the Student Bar Association president and gave her class commencement address about the Boston Red Sox. She also founded the Crosstown Pro Bono Challenge, a competition between USC and UCLA law schools to determine which school could engage more students in pro bono work.
The thing that I remember most from law school is being struck by how inaccessible the law is to most people. When you get a law degree, it's not just understanding the law and being able to make more money or benefit yourself or benefit your client. It's about benefiting the public. And that really has stuck with me. And the silver lining to that is that when I was in law school, I also met people that were so passionate about helping people. Throughout my career, I've had imposter syndrome, still have it. I don't think that goes away. And I don't think that women are still totally accepted in the field of law. I think it might come across a little bit differently, maybe as a bias against being a mom or, a bias against other aspects of being a woman, but I don't think that we're past that. I'm sad to say that, and I think that we're even maybe further behind when it comes to discrimination against people of color in the law. I just think it's important to be allies. I think women have a lot of stuff on their plate already, and so it's difficult to, deal with unconscious bias, deal with just generally, child raising expectations, responsibilities if you do have a family, and then to be the face of how to be a successful woman in a law firm or in where I work in a governmental agency. The one piece of advice that's really benefited me is to stick your neck out, to really trust yourself, trust your gut, and people trust lawyers. So you're going to have a lot of influence when you get your law degree. Use it for good and stick your neck out. The three things that I'm probably most proud of in my career, I've done 2 of them under threat of lawsuit.
Shannon is an attorney specialized in international criminal law, the intersection of technology and human rights, and the prevention of mass atrocities. She recently joined Twitter as its Human Rights Council. She is also a member of Guernica 37 International Justice Chambers and an officer of the War Crimes Committee of the International Bar Association. Until recently, Shannon was based in The Hague, where she was an associate legal officer at the Special Tribunal for Lebanon. She holds a JD from USC Gould School of Law, as well as a bachelor's in political science and economics from UCLA.
I have to say, I never thought that I would join a tech company or even be in-house counsel. My drive and interest has really always been in international human rights and criminal law. But the way that I've tried to think about my career, which is really far from linear, is just to try to think about opportunities for impact. And right now, I've been really astounded by the impact that technology companies can have and are having on conflict and human rights situations all around the world. And it's a role that's never existed before. So I join just one other female lawyer on the team, and everything that we're trying to do and trying to build there is brand new. So I really have to hand it to Ruth and to Yvonne and express my gratitude to them today, because it's really because of women like these that I think have broadened our societal understanding of what it is to be a lawyer and what it looks like. And I think that to the extent that any of us are, pioneering in any way in our respective areas of law, it's because of, some woman like Ruth had the audacity to think of herself as a lawyer and picture herself in a role that she hadn't been in before. One thing that I really took seriously away from law school was just that as attorneys, we're representing someone else. This is an ethical obligation. This is a professional obligation that carries with it a huge amount of weight and responsibility. And I think that concept has actually really helped, improve my ability to do my job, particularly as a woman, because to the extent that you ever feel timid about standing up for yourself, or whether you have a right to be at the table or the podium or whatever it is, you have to remember, actually, this is about someone else. And I've found that to be a really powerful tool anytime I need a boost, that, well, I'm here on behalf of someone else, another person or another group that needs to be represented. I think men should be looking for opportunities to elevate women's voices on a more interpersonal level. For all those men who are partners to women, I think there is enormous opportunity to just support the women in your lives who are facing their own challenges. And I think really behind a lot of success that you see both on the part of men and women, it takes a partnership behind it. And I know that the late, great Ruth Bader Ginsburg said the same thing about her husband, that she could have never accomplished all that she did, without the support of her husband. And I certainly feel it's true of me. I married a USC law grad who is taking care of our 2-year-old as we speak. I could not be the attorney that I would want to be or parent the way that I want if we didn't kind of conceptualize our roles and divide our responsibilities in a way that is often, very, very equitable and look at it as a partnership.